Captain Kalen Vor stood on the bridge of the Stardust Drifter, her slender fingers moving with practiced precision over the navigation panel. The survey vessel hummed steadily around her, its systems functioning with the quiet efficiency that characterized Xylosian engineering. Just as she preferred things, orderly, predictable, and above all, neutral. Captain, we've completed the cataloging of stellar phenomena in Sector 7, First Officer Lyra reported, her voice carrying the same measured tone that all Xylosians cultivated. The readings match our previous surveys, with minimal variances. Kalen nodded, her emerald eyes scanning the data, scrolling across her screen. Excellent. Prepare to move to Sector 8. We should maintain our schedule despite the proximity to the disputed zone. The disputed zone. Even the name caused a flicker of unease in Kalen's normally composed demeanor. Their survey mission had brought them perilously close to the contested region between the aggressive Cthar Empire and the rapidly expanding Terran Federation. Both powers have been engaged in a Cold War of sorts for years, with occasional skirmishes that threatened to erupt into full-scale conflict. And here was the Stardust Drifter, a Xylosian vessel representing a species renowned for its neutrality, recording stellar phenomena on the edge of this interstellar powder keg. Science Officer Zen approached with a data tablet. Captain, I've detected some unusual gravitational fluctuations in the next sector. They don't match any known natural phenomena in our databases. Kalen was about to respond when an alert chimed softly from the communication station. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal, the communications officer announced. Weak and fragmented, but definitely artificial. Kalen frowned. Source: a small vessel, approximately 2 light minutes from our current position. The signal pattern isn't in our recognition database, but the universal distress code is clear. On screen, the main view screen flickered, showing a small craft tumbling slowly against the backdrop of stars. Its hull was scorched in multiple places, with visible damage to what appeared to be its propulsion system. The design was unfamiliar, sleek, but clearly built for speed rather than durability. Life signs? Kalen asked, a sense of foreboding growing within her. Zen consulted his instruments. One life form, faint but present. The environmental systems appear to be failing. Kalen hesitated. Protocol dictated that they respond to any distress signal, but they were in a politically sensitive region. The damaged ship could belong to either the Cthar or the Terrans, and assisting either could be interpreted as taking sides, something the Xylosian High Command strictly prohibited. Can we identify the vessel's origin? She asked. Lyra shook her head. The design doesn't match any registered Cthar or Terran configurations in our database. It could be a private vessel, or perhaps deliberately disguised. Kalen took a deep breath. We are bound by galactic rescue protocols. Prepare a tractor beam and alert medical. We're bringing them aboard. As the Stardust Drifter moved carefully toward the damaged vessel, Kalen couldn't shake the feeling that she might be making a terrible mistake. But the alternative, leaving someone to die when they had the means to help, was unthinkable, both by Xylosian ethical standards and her own personal code. Within minutes, the small craft was secured in their auxiliary docking bay. Security personnel stood at alert as the medical team approached the vessel's damaged airlock. When they finally managed to override the emergency protocols and open the hatch, they found a single occupant, unconscious but alive. Human female, the chief medical officer reported over the comm. Multiple injuries, but nothing our systems can't handle. She appears to be in some kind of induced stasis, likely triggered by the ship's emergency protocols. Kalen felt her mandibles tighten with tension. A human, a Terran. This complicated matters significantly. Several hours later, Kalen stood in the medical bay, observing their unexpected guest. The human woman lay on the examination table, her vital signs now stable according to the medical officer. She appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with dark skin and short black hair, streaked with silver. A scar ran along her jawline, old, not from the recent damage to her ship. Will she recover? Kalen asked. Yes, Captain, the medical officer replied. The stasis protected her from the worst effects of her injuries. She should regain consciousness within a few hours. Alert me immediately when she wakes. Kalen returned to the bridge, where Lyra was waiting with news. Captain, we've examined what remains of the human's vessel. Most of the systems were too damaged to extract useful data, but we've recovered some personal effects and a partially corrupted data core. Any identification? Nothing official. However, we found this. Lyra held up a small metallic object, a pendant of some kind, bearing an unfamiliar symbol. Zen looked up from his station. That's not a standard Terran Federation insignia. Could be private sector or possibly military intelligence. Before Kalen could respond, the communications officer interrupted. Captain, we're being hailed by a Kthar patrol vessel. They're requesting information about our activities in this sector. Kalen straightened her uniform. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing the harsh, reptilian features of a Kthar commander. His scales gleamed metallic blue under the lights of his bridge, and his vertical pupils narrowed as he regarded Kalen. This is Commander Zarvek of the Kthar Security Force. Xylosian vessel, explain your deviation from your registered survey route and your current stop. Kalen maintained her composure. Commander, this is Captain Kalen Vore of the Xylosian survey vessel Stardust Drifter. We detected a distress signal and responded according to galactic rescue protocols. We have recovered one survivor from a damaged vessel. The Kthar's eyes narrowed further. A survivor? Describe this vessel and its occupant. A small craft of unregistered design with a single human occupant. The survivor is currently receiving medical treatment aboard our vessel. Commander Zarvek's posture stiffened noticeably. That vessel was observed violating Kthar territorial space. The human is a fugitive from Kthar justice. You will surrender this individual to us immediately. Kalen felt a chill run down her spine, but kept her voice steady. Commander, I have received no official notification of any territorial violations or fugitive alerts on the emergency channels. The survivor is currently under medical care and unable to be transported. I must respectfully decline until I receive proper documentation and the survivor is medically cleared. This is not a request, Captain Vore. That human is wanted for espionage against the Kthar Empire. Refusal to comply will have serious diplomatic consequences for your government. I understand your concern, Commander. However, I must follow proper protocols. If you submit the appropriate documentation through official channels, I will review it promptly. Until then, I am bound by medical and rescue ethics. The Kthar commander's face darkened with anger, but he seemed to recognize the political minefield of directly threatening a Xylosian vessel. You will receive our documentation shortly, Captain. I suggest you prepare to transfer the human upon receipt. The Kthar Empire does not look kindly on those who harbor spies. The communication ended abruptly. Lyra turned to Kalen. Captain, this situation has become extremely problematic. If the human is indeed a spy. We don't know that, Kalen interrupted. The Kthar are known for their broad definition of espionage. For all we know, this could be a civilian researcher who strayed too close to their territory. Even so, we cannot afford to be seen taking sides in a Terran-Kthar dispute. Our neutrality. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from medical. Captain, the human is awake and asking to speak with you. When Kalen entered the medical bay, she found their guest sitting upright on the examination table, eyes alert and posture tense despite her injuries. The human woman watched Kalen approach with a wariness that suggested extensive experience with uncertain situations. I'm Captain Kalen Vore of the Xylosian survey vessel Stardust Drifter. We responded to your distress signal and brought you aboard for medical treatment. The woman nodded. Thank you, Captain. You saved my life. Her voice was steady, with a slight accent Kalen couldn't place. My name is Anya Sharma. Can you tell me what happened to your vessel, Anya Sharma? The human's eyes darted briefly to the medical officer before returning to Kalen. Engine malfunction. I was conducting independent research when my propulsion system failed unexpectedly. Research on what exactly? Stellar cartography. I'm mapping radiation patterns in this sector for a private firm. Kalen noted the vague answer. A dangerous area to conduct private research, so close to the disputed zone. Anya's expression remained neutral. The scientific data in border regions is often the most valuable precisely because it's understudied. We've been contacted by a Kthar patrol vessel, Kalen said, watching the humans' reaction carefully. They claim you violated their territory and have accused you of espionage. To her credit, Anya's expression changed only minimally, a slight tightening around the eyes. The Kthar claim everything within 10 light years of their recognized borders as territory. I was well within the neutral zone according to Union cartography. They're demanding we transfer you to their custody. Now Anya's composure slipped momentarily, fear flashing across her features before she regained control. Captain, if you turn me over to the Kthar, I won't survive their interrogation methods. Whatever they've told you, I'm not a spy. I haven't made any decisions yet, Kalen replied. For now, you're under my protection as a rescue survivor. But I need to know what I'm dealing with. If there's anything you're not telling me that could affect my crew's safety, now would be the time to share it. Anya held Kalen's gaze for a long moment. All I can say right now is that I'm grateful for your help, and I hope you'll continue to follow rescue protocols rather than Kthar demands. My life depends on it. As Kalen left the medical bay, she found Zin waiting outside. Captain, I've been examining the remnants of the human's flight suit. There are unusual energy signatures embedded in the fabric, consistent with experimental Terran stealth technology. And the damaged data core from her ship contains encrypted fragments that suggest this wasn't a simple research mission. Kalen's suspicions deepened. The Kthar might be right about her being more than a civilian researcher. There's more, Zin added. We're experiencing unusual system fluctuations, minor failures in non-critical systems, communications interference. It could be damage from approaching the damaged vessel, or sabotage, Kalen finished, either from our guest or the Kthar trying to force our hand. Increase security around the human and run a full diagnostic on all systems. Kalen had just returned to the bridge when the tactical officer called out, Captain, a Kthar warship has just entered sensor range. It's significantly larger than the patrol vessel. Hail them, Kalen ordered, her voice tight. The view screen activated to show not Commander Zarvek, but a higher-ranking Kthar officer, his scales a deep crimson with gold markings that indicated senior military status. I am Admiral Rek Thor of the Kthar Imperial Fleet. Xylosian vessel, you are harboring a Terran spy who has stolen critical military intelligence from the Kthar Empire. Surrender the human known as Anya Sharma and all recovered technology immediately, or face immediate military response. Kalen maintained her diplomatic tone. Admiral, we have received no official documentation regarding these accusations. The individual in question was rescued according to galactic protocols and is under medical care. Your diplomatic evasions are noted and rejected, Captain Vor. The human in your custody infiltrated a secure Kthar facility and stole data regarding fleet movements and weapons deployments near the disputed zone. This is not a matter for debate. You have 1 hour to prepare the prisoner for transfer, or we will take action to recover her ourselves. The communication cut off abruptly. Captain, Lyra said urgently, we must comply. Xylosian policy strictly prohibits involvement in espionage-related conflicts between major powers. If this human truly is a spy, if she is, Kalen interrupted, then we need to consider all implications. Handing over a rescued survivor to face execution without due process violates galactic humanitarian protocols that supersede even our neutrality policies. The Kthar warship is arming weapons, the tactical officer reported. Shields up. Maintain position, Kalen ordered. The ship shuddered as a warning shot passed close to their hull. They're launching boarding shuttles, the tactical officer called out. Evasive maneuvers, Kalen commanded. We need time to think. As the Stardust drifter began to move, Anya Sharma appeared on the bridge, escorted by 2 security officers. Captain, you need to hear me out, she said urgently. Yes, I'm a Terran intelligence operative. But the data I recovered proves the Cthar are planning an unprovoked invasion of independent colonies in this sector, using the disputed zone as a staging area. They're violating multiple treaties. She held out a small, metallic cylinder. This data core contains the evidence, but it's heavily encrypted. I can help your science officer decode it. Kalen stared at the human, conflicted between duty to her government's neutrality policy and the growing suspicion that there was truth to Anya's claims. The Cthar reaction seemed disproportionate for a simple territorial violation. Take her to Science Officer Zen, Kalen decided, but keep her under guard. As another warning shot rocked the ship, Kalen made a desperate decision. Helm, set course for the nearby asteroid belt. The sensor interference should give us cover while we sort this out. The Stardust Drifter accelerated away from the Cthar warship, taking several hits to its rear shields before diving into the dense asteroid field. The larger Cthar vessel couldn't follow as easily, but Kalen knew they wouldn't. Give up. They'd establish a blockade and wait. In the temporary safety of the asteroid belt, Kalen called an emergency meeting of her senior officers. The debate was heated, with Lyra arguing passionately for complying with both Cthar demands and Xylosian government directives to maintain neutrality. The human has admitted to being a spy. Lyra insisted. Our policy is clear. We cannot harbor fugitives involved in espionage between major powers. The situation isn't that simple, Zen countered. I've begun decoding the data core with Anya's help. What I've seen so far supports her claim about Cthar fleet movements. If she's right about their invasion plans, turning her over doesn't just condemn her. It potentially condemns millions of colonists to Cthar subjugation. Kalen listened to both sides, feeling the weight of command more heavily than ever before. A simple rescue mission had turned into a diplomatic nightmare with no clear path forward. What about contacting the Xylosian High Command for instructions? Someone suggested. Communications are being jammed by the Cthar, the communications officer replied. We can receive broad-spectrum transmissions, but targeted communications are blocked. As if on cue, the communications panel beeped. Captain, we're receiving a delayed news beacon from the Union network. It's fragmentary due to interference, but the officer's voice trailed off as he read the incoming message. What is it? Kalen demanded. The Cthar Empire has formally accused the Xylosian government of aiding Terran aggression by harboring Agent Sharma. They've issued an ultimatum. Surrender Anya and the stolen data within 48 hours or face military consequences. Our government has ordered all Xylosian vessels to comply with Cthar demands to preserve our neutrality. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Their own government had effectively abandoned them to maintain political neutrality. Before Kalen could respond, another alert sounded. Captain, we're receiving a high-powered, encrypted transmission cutting through the Cthar jamming. It's directed specifically at the Stardust Drifter. Source: Terran Federation Command, Earth. Kalen hesitated only briefly. Put it through. The message was brief and coldly official. Captain Kalenvor, Agent Sharma is vital. Protector, Earth recognizes your vessel is being coerced for assisting our operative. Any aggressive action against the Stardust Drifter by Cthar forces will be considered an act of war against the Terran Federation. We are mobilizing. The bridge crew stared at Kalen in shock. The simple act of rescuing a human had now placed them at the center of an interstellar crisis. Earth had just declared it would go to war for them if the Cthar attacked again. Kalen felt the universe shifting around her. Neutrality was no longer an option. Her government had ordered her to surrender Anya, but doing so would likely result in the human's execution and potentially allow a Cthar invasion to proceed unchallenged. Yet defying the order meant potentially being branded a traitor to her own people. And now Earth had raised the stakes exponentially, promising war if the Cthar attacked her ship again. A virtual certainty if she didn't hand over Anya. Captain, Lyra prompted, her voice strained. Your orders? Kalen took a deep breath. We stand with Agent Sharma and Earth, provisionally. The Cthar aggression seems disproportionate. Anya's partial data is concerning, and surrendering her now guarantees Cthar aggression anyway. while Terran intervention gives us a slim chance of survival. Lyra, note my decision in the log as a formal protest if you wish. Lyra's expression was pained. This will mean our destruction, Captain. We cannot withstand a Cathar assault, and Terran forces are likely days away at minimum. Then we need to make sure that help arrives in time, Kalen replied. Zen, work with Anya to complete the decryption. We need to prove the Cathar invasion plot and transmit it safely through the blockade to both the Union Council and Earth Command to justify our actions and hopefully rally broader support. Zen and Anya worked feverishly in the science lab, their unlikely collaboration bridging the gap between Xylosian methodical precision and human intuitive leaps. The partial decryption revealed disturbing evidence. The Cathar had been secretly amassing forces along the disputed zone, far beyond what would be needed for defensive purposes. We need to modify the long-range sensors into a focused, high-powered transmitter, Anya suggested. We can use the asteroid belt's interference as a mask. That would require diverting power from essential systems, including weapons and partial life support, Zen pointed out. And we need perfect timing to avoid Cathar detection during transmission, Kalen added. But might be our only option. As they worked on the modifications, Cathar patience wore thin. They began saturating the asteroid belt with scan pulses and deploying drone ships to hunt for the Stardust Drifter. Time was running out. Lyra, despite her disagreement with Kalen's decision, worked professionally alongside the others, her discipline exemplifying Xylosian commitment to duty even in crisis. Captain, Zen called out excitedly. Decryption complete. The final decryption revealed incontrovertible evidence of the Cathar invasion plans targeting multiple independent worlds, timed to coincide with a manufactured diplomatic incident. The plans included detailed fleet movements, weapons deployments, and even occupation protocols for the targeted colonies. This goes beyond simple expansionism, Kalen said grimly. This is a coordinated campaign of conquest they've been planning for years. Now we just need to get this information out, Anya said. The transmission system is ready, but we'll only get one shot before they pinpoint our location. Kalen nodded. Begin power diversion to the transmission array. Shut down all non-essential systems. The ship darkened as power was redirected. Environmental systems scaled back to minimum levels. Weapons went offline, and even artificial gravity weakened. The crew moved about in semi-darkness, the tension palpable. Cathar drones approaching Sector 7, the tactical officer reported. Estimated time to detection, 4 minutes. Begin transmission, Kalen ordered. The ship hummed as the modified sensor array channeled enormous power into a tight beam transmission carrying the encrypted Cathar invasion plans to both the Union Council and Terran Command. Energy spike detected, the tactical officer called out. Cathar vessels are changing course toward our position. They're launching missiles. With weapons and propulsion systems at minimal power, the Stardust Drifter was essentially defenseless. Kalen braced for impact, but at that moment, space seemed to fold in on itself as multiple Terran fast response cruisers jumped into the system, alerted by Earth Command and responding to the impending Cathar attack that Kalen's transmission had inadvertently confirmed. A chaotic battle erupted at the edge of the asteroid belt between the newly arrived Terran ships and the surprised Cathar forces. The Stardust Drifter, nearly powerless, narrowly escaped destruction thanks to Terran intervention and the ensuing chaos. Transmission successful, the communications officer reported above the distant sounds of battle. Confirmation received from both Union Council and Earth Command. Within hours, the Cathar invasion plot was exposed across the galaxy. The Cathar Empire faced universal condemnation and potential Union sanctions. The immediate invasion was halted before it could begin. The Stardust Drifter, escorted by Terran forces, made its way to a neutral station. Kalen faced reprimand from her government for disobeying orders, but was hailed as a hero by the independent colonies saved by the data leak and cautiously praised by some Union factions. Earth publicly thanked the Xylosian crew, reinforcing their narrative of protecting those who assisted their agents. The Cathar withdrew, disgraced, but likely plotting revenge. As Anya prepared to depart with Terran forces, she shared a moment of reluctant respect with Kalen. "I never meant to drag you into this," Anya said. "For what it's worth, you saved more lives than just mine today." "That remains to be seen," Kalen replied. "By saving one human, I've fundamentally altered my life, my career, and potentially my species' position in the galaxy. Xylosian neutrality has been compromised. Earth has demonstrated its willingness to escalate conflicts rapidly, and the Cathar remain a threat. The galaxy was never as stable as it pretended to be," Anya said. "Sometimes it takes a crisis to reveal the truth." As Anya departed, Kalen received new, ambiguous orders from the conflicted Xylosian command, reflecting the dangerous new political reality her simple rescue had created. The irony of the situation became clear. Saving a human hadn't just brought trouble. It had brought the full, unpredictable weight of Earth's foreign policy crashing down upon them, forcing them into a conflict they had never sought. As Kalen looked out at the stars from her viewport, she wondered how many other captains across the galaxy were making similar decisions at this very moment. Choices that seemed small and right at the time, but that could reshape the political landscape of entire civilizations. The universe, she reflected, was not kind to those who tried to remain neutral when powerful forces collided. Sometimes, the only choice was which side of history you wanted to stand on when the dust settled. "Captain," her communications officer called. "We're receiving new mission parameters from Xylosian High Command. They want us to continue our survey mission, but with adjusted protocols regarding encounters with Terran or Cathar vessels." Kayla nodded. The new political reality was already taking shape. Neutrality had served her people well for generations, but perhaps that era was coming to an end. If so, she would need to navigate these treacherous new waters with even greater care. "Acknowledged," she said. "Set course for the next survey point, and maintain alert status." As the Stardust Drifter moved away from the station, Kalen couldn't help but think of the small, damaged vessel they had encountered just days ago, and how such a simple act of mercy had cascaded into consequences that would echo across the stars for years to come. You save a human? Congratulations. Earth just won a war for you, and the galaxy would never be the same again.